Welcome once again and thanks for keeping us company. As we kick it off tonight, RPF Inkotanyi members were urged to be cautious in the elections slated for tomorrow's Saturday that will see members voting for their representatives for the presidential and parliamentarians elections slated for July this year. Prince Manzi starts us off tonight.
uyu munsi twabatumiye tugira ngo tubamenyeshe igikorwa tugiye gutangira.
The RPF Inkotanyi demonstrates that these elections are to be participated in by all members to enhance democracy as one of the pillars of the RPF. The Secretary General of the RPF Inkotanyi, Lars Gasamagera, demonstrates that since the last presidential elections in 2017, a lot has been done and there's a lot to achieve. The RPF is willing to support in citizens. What was achieved is a lot, and RPF is willing to achieve more together with Rwandans in the coming years. We are running for the next 5 years mandate. All these are hand in hand with welfare of Rwandans through the leadership Rwandans deserve. The Secretariat General of the RPF urged members to be careful in the elections slated for tomorrow, Saturday. We know that Rwandans are careful and cautious, especially when it requires for their participation, like in elections of their leaders. This is the same thing we are requesting from them, to be careful and choose leaders that align with their vision. The Secretary General adds that the coalition of political parties during elections is beneficial for both RPF and the country at large. Even if we'd be having indifferences in implementation of policies and strategies, because usually political parties differ in this way. When we see some say that on the leadership level we should co-join, we welcome them. We see it as a benefit and an additional value for democracy. 2 candidates representing RPF in Inkotanyi will be selected on a village level. One of the selected will be chosen on a cell, sector and district level. These elections are starting tomorrow, Saturday, and conclude on the national level in the RPF Inkotanyi General Assembly, slated in March 2024, where RPF candidates for presidential and parliamentarian elections will be approved. Prince Manzi, RwandaTV News.
To education matters, the University of Rwanda Department of Education has certified the mathematics and science teachers in a primary and lower level of secondary schools. We do have the details with Christelle Uwase.
The courses completed by the teachers were studied within a period of 6 months during non-working days and aim to provide better practical knowledge in teaching mathematics, science, and providing knowledge in inclusive education.
Lessons that we have learned there, which are in modules that we'll use it and we will relate it with the CBC, competence-based curriculum. That competence-based curriculum which help a learner to use the skills that he or she gets in the classroom, relate it with the daily life, so that he can create something which can help him to get the life where he or she is.
Professor Florian Sangonyimana, the head of the university's Department of Education, asserts that this project started in 2021 and plans to end in 2027 with 4,000 graduates, but the trainees will pass on the knowledge to their colleagues.
Teachers acquired the skills to teach using laboratory and even to improvise, because now they understand the concept of math and science. They can even improvise so that they can, improve the learning outcomes. So that's the expectations, and we expect trained teachers also to share their knowledge and skills to their colleagues so that we can all grow together and improve together the quality of education.
The Minister of State in Ministry of Education, Madame Irere Claudette, demonstrated that in order for the knowledge they have to reach out to the students properly, they must have sufficient ability in the use of English language, which is also taught.
Iyo rero wigisha amasomo
The learners can't acquire knowledge when you deliver lessons in the language you do not understand. That's why we emphasize that teachers should put effort in English language, because now it's the common language that is being used in teaching. This project is funded by the World Bank and implemented by the Rwanda Basic Education Board in collaboration with University of Rwanda. Christelle Oase, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Christelle. The Africa E-Trade Group, an African diaspora-led initiative aimed at enclosing gaps in the e-commerce sector, demonstrates that it has a goal of creating 80 to 125 million jobs benefiting women and the youth on the continent. Prince Manzi.
The program aligns with the objective initiated by the African heads of state of establishing a continental free trade area specific for made in Africa products. Mulualema Sium, the chief executive officer of the AE Trade Group, reiterates that the goal will be achieved in collaboration with nations.
The A-Trade Group is catalyzing the vision and mission in this regard. And we don't necessarily just do that alone, but working with government, private sectors, development partners, or academias, that working together we can create a scalable impact to our continent. And by 2037, we have a vision to create between 80 to 125 million jobs across the continent.
And then through the mentorship and hand-holding.
Business experts in the African Union Commission demonstrated for country and international organization representatives in Rwanda that on the African continent, there's a lack of $340 billion needed by small and medium enterprises. Through innovation, women and youth employed many.
I
am in hospitality and horticulture. I do decorations of events. I do import and export sometimes. In florist services, for instance, women are many, but also men are involved, but on a low rate. I provide jobs for all ages of people. In some of the African countries, unemployment rate is on 38%. In Rwanda, the National Institute of Statistics of Rwanda demonstrated that the fourth quarter of 2023 ended with an unemployment rate on 16.8% from 24.3% in the same quarter in 2022. Ozonia Ogiello, the UN resident coordinator in Rwanda, demonstrates that Rwandan youth and on the continent at large have ideas but lack support.
You know how many youth entrepreneurs, even here in Rwanda, how many young people have fantastic ideas, but they don't know where to go with the ideas. How many young people are inventing things, they don't know what to do with them. You see it on social media. So imagine now we're able to give them a platform. They can come to that platform and say, here's my idea, here's my business plan, here's what I produce. They get access to training, to support, to refine it, to make it better, to modernize it. So you test, and then you begin to scale, then you mass produce. So the financing, but the expertise helps you to refine, to mass produce. Then you have a market across the continent. How is it impossible? You're looking at 55 countries from around the continent. Working together, we can do it.
Regional economic experts demonstrate that easing intra-trade among countries is one of the critical steps to make. The Africa E-Trade Group established Sokoku Africa, a premier e-commerce marketplace for the AFCFTA. They also aim at building capacity for numerous women and youth on the continent. Prince Manzi, RwandaTV News.
The Ministry of Justice, in collaboration with Transparency International Rwanda, has hosted a consultative meeting on the new Rwanda anti-corruption policy. The session has brought together key anti-corruption stakeholders to offer insights for enhancing the policy document before cabinet approval.
We have actually consulted different levels of public institutions and private institutions and civil society. But today, we also intend to consult furthermore. Of course, because for example, we have in our justice sector we have a leadership group. It's actually an organ or a level of administration which is composed of our higher leaders in the justice sector, justice, justice, reconciliation, law and order sector. They have necessarily to be consulted because actually they are actually at the top of our institutions, so they need to be consulted.
It was also noted that the policy signifies the unwavering dedication of the government of Rwanda institutions, civil society, private sector, and all citizens to work together tirelessly to rid the society of corruption.
There are some ideas which emerged where, for example, people suggest, for example, the rewarding of the whistleblowers. Of course, this needs to be explored, but we think and we encourage Rwanda citizens to do it promptly without expecting any reward. This would be probably more sustainable rather than expecting to be rewarded for information that you shared. This is one. The second, where we want really to see it's name and shame, publishing those convicted of corruption.
Moving ahead, a delegation of education officials from Tanzania has recommended Rwanda's Early Childhood Development Centers initiative following a study tour carried out in Kayonza district. The head of the delegation observed that similar programs should be introduced and implemented in his own country.
Number one, we have seen that the early childhood development policy and strategy that has been approved by government is implemented on the ground. The second lesson is that the government is working closely with partners, and we have seen that you have got solid programs and different approaches on early childhood development. So we're going to reflect on these lessons and see how we can translate and institutionalize in Tanzania.
Still in education, the Ministry of Education demonstrates that the issue of school dropouts is going to be sustainably addressed in collaboration with families and other stakeholders. The optimism arises from the Zero Out of School Children 5-year project. Prince Manzi.
As this project was launched in September last year, statistics demonstrated that 177,119 children dropped out of school.
The challenges include poverty and disharmony in families, and you find a child dropping out of school because they lack equipment. But you heard that these children are going to be assisted.
And they drop out of school and struggle on the streets, from streets to thieves. But this project, we assist in addressing this issue from families. The project will be operational in 3,691 primary schools. The Director General of the Education Policy and Analysis at the Ministry of Education, Rose Baguma, reiterates that in collaboration with various sectors, it is possible for the dropped-out children to return to school.
It is possible for them to return back to school. There are various reasons that prevent them to return back to school, including parents not understanding why a child is to be at school. But in this program, there is also raising awareness among parents, and this cannot be done by the ministry alone, but in collaboration with our partners that follows upon the children in their residences. We find it to be something possible.
The Zero Out of School Children project will have a budget of more than $44 million, of which half of the funds will be provided by the Ministry of Education, and the other will be provided by the Education Above All Foundation.
On behalf of the entire news production, as well as the technical team that made it happen, many thanks for being with us. Up until next time, we wish you to stay safe and have a fun-filled weekend. Goodbye.